Diplomacy Parts, Level 1. Bilateral Diplomacy. The direct conduct of relations between two sovereign states through embassies, high commissions, ambassadors, and formal government-to-government communication channels, managing shared interests, disputes, and cooperation. Multilateral diplomacy conducted between three or more states within international organizations, global summits, treaty conferences, and multilateral forums including the United Nations, NATO, G7, G20, and the African Union. Treaty and agreement negotiation. The structured process of negotiating, drafting, signing, ratifying, and implementing binding international agreements covering trade, security, environment, human rights, borders, and arms control. Conflict prevention and crisis diplomacy. The diplomatic tools deployed to prevent armed conflict, de-escalate international crises, broker ceasefires, and manage emergency situations between states through mediation, dialogue, and third-party intervention. Public diplomacy and soft power. The strategies used by states to influence foreign publics, shape international perceptions, and build national reputation through cultural programs, media, education exchanges, aid, and strategic communications. Economic and trade diplomacy. The negotiation and management of trade agreements, investment treaties, sanctions regimes, development finance, and the commercial relationships that underpin economic foreign policy objectives. Legal and international law framework. The body of international law governing state conduct, including the UN Charter, International Humanitarian Law, the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, International Criminal Law, and dispute resolution mechanisms. Foreign policy and strategic planning. The national frameworks, doctrines, and decision-making processes through which governments define their international objectives, prioritize relationships, and direct their diplomatic resources. Diplomatic missions and protocol. The infrastructure of diplomacy. Embassies, consulates, high commissions, permanent missions, diplomatic immunity, accreditation, protocol procedures, and the formal rules governing diplomatic conduct. Intelligence and diplomatic analysis. The role of intelligence gathering, political analysis, reporting, and strategic assessment in informing diplomatic decision-making, including the work of foreign ministries, diplomatic cables, and intelligence agencies. Development and humanitarian diplomacy. The diplomatic dimensions of international development, humanitarian aid, refugee policy, disaster response, and the negotiations surrounding global health, food security, and poverty reduction. Thematic and specialist diplomacy. Dedicated diplomatic tracks addressing specific global challenges, climate diplomacy, cyber diplomacy,